Hello everybody, it's Zeidoktor here with Typical Manga Fan, and this episode of the Typical Manga Review is dedicated to Bleach, Chapter 681, The End to World. That's 2TWO, there's a number. And we open with Renji, doing what Renji does best, attack ineffectually.
Well, let's face it. There's nowhere in hell that I had any chance of getting York. I mean, the Bankai Weiichigo thing, yeah, maybe you could be surprised. I mean, I honestly wasn't. But with Renji Shikai, let's face it, that's not gonna ever reach him.
York doesn't even turn around.
Yeah, doesn't have to. Hey, Renji, how about use that Bankai you had? The one that you used one time.
Well,
anyway,
better he didn't actually, because then we have to go through all the stuff.
Yeah, because I know the
Bankai we did with this.
Yeah.
We'll do with this one.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Shikai broke, and his he could fix it. Whereas the Bankai broke, he'd have to go through this whole entire arc again.
Yeah.
That said, don't be surprised that your Shikai didn't work. So why is Renji surprised?
I don't know. But in any case, we move on to
Take a shot, by the way.
Oh, damn! I forgot to fill my drink up beforehand. My bad. Anyway, move on to Uryu and Hashwald.
Oh, whatever. That's fine.
And Hashwald's like, what's with that face? Do you think I'd feel betrayed or upset because of this? That siphoned away all my power? I take pride in it. That His Majesty found your power unfitting to steal. He chose mine instead. I can't think of a better honor. Because only I am capable of being an asset to His Majesty. It's like, Yuri's like, alright, fine. Wait. By the way, before you go, give me your wounds. I mean, you're gonna go fight my king, but go ahead and do it healthy at least.
So I mean, Hashwell's I guess feelings regarding the fact that Yuha basically took his powers back isn't really surprising. I mean, first off, Hashwell isn't the only one that was like that. Like, there was a lot of Quincy's who were okay with being killed by Yuha personally. So, and Hashwell of all of them was the most dedicated to Yuha cause. So it doesn't actually, it's not surprising at all that that this is the way he acted regarding this whole thing. He obviously has a problem with being wanted. That's always been like his thing. But it's really unfortunate that probably one of the most developed Quincy's gets an ending like this. Like, the fact that he was about to win against Uryu, like, it seemed like kind of like Yara, where he's like, how do you beat this guy? And then it just ends. Like, it's a Deus Ex Machina, literally, because Yubok's God, so he basically is a Deus Ex Machina. It's really disappointing. It's really a shame. And honestly, I don't blame the publishers at all. I mean, look, the publisher, like Kubo put himself in this situation, so it's his fault why he couldn't finish the Hashwell fight. He spent a month and a half on the other two fights with Kiraku and Mayuri, or so let's not each, I think. So let's not say that he had no time for this. Like, it's ridiculous.
Anyway,
although you can argue that the publishers should give him more time, whatever. But still, so it's interesting that he basically is saying that he wants to help Uryu. I guess I don't know. It's like, I think it's like he won himself over. I mean, Uryu won him over at least by a little bit.
What it seems like to me is like, his role in His Majesty's plan is done, so he's kind of doing his own thing his own way, like just kind of going off whatever convictions he feels. And I guess
he wants. Sorry.
I was gonna say, because he's thinking about that, like making decisions based on what you believe in, walking your own path. Something that we had said for not having even one regret. And as his hand kind of like, as he dies, his hand kind of opens up. We see the Basby symbol on his sword.
Yeah, so obviously he still gave a shit about Basby. Too bad you still killed him.
Yep.
So I guess what he's trying to do is he's trying to say, okay, fine, I don't believe in your conviction, but if you really believe in it, I might as well give you a fighting chance. And so he wants to test it out. Well, he'd be dead, but he wants to see if Uryu can really beat Yubok with his conviction. So it's sort of like, well, I still believe you're gonna lose, but if you're gonna do it, you might as well see it through the end, type of thing. I don't know. It's I don't know. It's this whole Uryu Hashwell thing has been so
anticlimactic, dull.
Anticlimactic, very dull. Yeah, exactly. Saying all those words. One would argue that even it was very boring. I mean, like, dull, boring. Like, in the sense that it's very hard to get. It was very hard to get into. Because they kept talking, and at some point you're just like, yeah, we know that Uryu is doing it for us. Like, it felt maybe redundant too, actually. But anyway, so we go on to Rukia, who's all like, holy shit, because she basically, Orihime oh look, we actually got attention to Orihime finally, who's is basically telling Rukia everything that's been happening, and then and she okay, so obviously
She's
while
apparently, it looks like she's worn herself out trying to restore Tensa Zangetsu.
yeah, I was also thinking something like she's probably not dead. I mean, she's not dying because they. I feel like it'd be people. The chapter would be a lot more centric on that if she were. You know, people would be a lot more worried about that. But since it's kind of like just like oh she's injured, but she they're focusing most on Ichigo's Bankai. I'm assuming that she's just injured but not actually dying.
Yeah.
Um,
I got the impression she's just kind of worn out from just like trying so hard to use it.
Yeah. So basically, she can't reject it based because he did this in the future. And so it's set in stone.
Yep.
And then Renji.
I think the impression is like he's pretty much like Yuak's pretty much made us like every possible future and results in that Bankai being broken.
So, yeah. So it's very metaphysical, really. It's kind of if you try to think about it too hard, then it doesn't work. But
fortunately, Renji does not do that. He just gets you to go on his feet, like, to get your ass up here.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury to wait. Like, we're going after him.
Yeah.
And Rook's like, wait, don't go Leroy Jenkinsing into here. We got to take up a plan.
And then Ichigo, as it turns out, is not actually catatonic, but he's still responsive, but he's kind of like giving up. And then suddenly, pew, ching, someone stabs him from behind, and then he turns around and he says, "You son of a!" And it turns out it's Tsukishima,
giving his traditional greeting of stabbing people in the back.
Yeah. Ichigo actually got stabbed. He never got stabbed before by Tsukishima. Now he has. And so basically, it turns out Ginjo, Yukio, and are right behind him.
Okay, I didn't notice Yukio the first time, but yeah, okay.
No, neither did I. That's how much he's been part of it. I think they just show him there just because to show that he was the one who transported him there. I have another question though. Where's Giriko? Because he was shown as a silhouette. I mean, not silhouette. His back was shown, so it was kind of like, oh, you think he'd be her too? But I guess he was just a practice dummy for the other two.
You know, I feel like lately I've begun to feel like Bleach is kind of like an episode of How Did This Get Made? Like, if you thought that such and such was going to come back and be important later, it's not. That's like a common joke of theirs.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tsukishima was like, Ginjo said we're helping you, and I didn't have much to say about it.
So, and then Yuto's like, he's questioning it. But as it turns out, Ginjo's like, no, we're not taking your side. We're just repaying you for the debt, for our debt to him.
What debt
or
is that? Do you know?
Huh? Oh, it's because it's a meta thing where Ginjo thinks that by killing him. Remember they had this whole thing about he actually saved Ginjo by I guess releasing him from all that anguish and all that shit, or showing him what it means to be a Shinigami, a good guy, whatever. Remember Riruka was all like, "No, you can't hurt him." Remember, he's the one who actually saved Ginjo. Remember that?
You have to remember the immediately previous arc was 4 years ago.
Okay, well, I guess my memory with Bleach is actually abnormally good for some reason.
You have your memory for Bleach is like my memory for One Piece.
Okay, well, they had this whole thing where Ginjo considers himself to actually have been saved by Ichigo upon his death, and that I guess he showed him something that he wanted to see. Like Ichigo showed him his resolve and something like that. It's kind of weird. I guess it's sort of like how Darth Vader's like, you saved me and shit, but at the same time, it's like Ginjo didn't actually become good. I guess arguably it's my interpretation is that Ginjo was released from his anger and his angst and all that shit by being killed by Ichigo, and therefore he was saved because he doesn't hold that anger anymore, right?
Right.
So I think that's the point. I think that's what they're saying. And then Tsukishima does anything that Ginjo tells him to do. Yep. So that is the depth, I think.
Okay, fair enough. You probably are right about that. And that does make sense with what we know about bleaches and souls and all that. But in any case, Tsukishima tells Orihime to try fixing the sword again, because what he did is, even though Yuak rewrote the future so that they're so powerfully that she can't reject it normally. If there was a past where that didn't happen, now he should be able to reject it, and that's kind of what he did. He created a past or a timeline where the sword was not broken to give her like a place to work from. Yeah,
because that's Tsukushima's thing. And by the way, I effing called it.
Using Tsukishima as a counter to Yuak.
Yeah, I mean, right? We talked about this on the review before, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's how you beat this OP shit. I mean, there's still a lot of issues regarding it, which I will talk about after this chapter ends.
Yeah.
But in terms of Tsukishima ability being important in some way, I was right.
Well, as far as the chapter ends, like Tsukishima says, like, okay, we're square now, and now Ichigo, now that he has his big, long, thick sword in his hands again, his confidence is restored.
That was a little too quick for something that someone who just went through true despair that no one is like he's never been through before, you know?
Well, a man needs a sword in his hand.
Oh wait, what's that? There's the Lord of the Rings thing where it's like your strength will return to you if you remember what it's like to grasp a sword or something like that. When Theoden becomes gets healed by Gandalf.
Oh yeah, where he's like the decrepit old king, and then he's like super badass.
Yeah, then he asked, and then Aragorn, or no, it was Aragorn. Aragorn gives him the sword, but I think it was Gandalf who said it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then he grabs the sword and he's like all powerful again. It's like a metaphor and all that shit, but something like that. So I mean, I don't know. It's so quick. That's the problem. Like
yeah, like barely any time happens.
It doesn't. True Despair doesn't actually have that much of an impact if it only was around for like a 2 chapters. You know. Like when did he get his power stone? Last chapter?
Not even 2 chapters.
Like,
well, not even 2 full chapters anyway.
Well, when did he get his power stone? Like last chapter? What happened last chapter?
Last chapter opened up with him losing his power, then it went on to something else entirely, I think.
Okay. So he lost his powers for a grand total of 1 chapter. Whoop-de-f and do.
Yeah.
For the 4th time, by the way.
Right. Yeah, 3rd, 4th time I think we said. Yeah, you're right. Probably 4th. I'll trust your memory over mine.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I could definitely feel that true despair affecting me, you know?
Yep.
Okay, well...
Yeah, basically, like, his sword got broke, he wound up on his knees, his sword is back, he's ready to rise again.
I feel like this type of learning curve, like this, you know, this type of lesson or this type of thing, like something that Ichigo would get out of this, wouldn't actually... It's not as powerful if it only happens for such a short time, you know? Yeah. For someone to really learn and pick themselves up from true despair, I feel like it's more important if they had it for an extended period of time. Unfortunately, we can't do that if the manga's ending in 6 chapters, supposedly, around there.
Yeah, it's like, I've heard different things about that, so I'm not really putting it too much on that.
It's end of August, right? So, I mean, excluding this chapter...
I've heard things saying that they're trying to go for, like, the anniversary.
So, what is that, like...
I don't know what date that would be, but I was saying that's what they're aiming for.
Okay, well, let's assume it's the end of August to give them a little bit of leeway, right? So that gives them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chapters left. Mm-hmm. Roughly 6 or 7.
Yeah,
I'll say 6. That's not much at all if you think about how much time. I think
and also when you consider the fact that you alone came up with 12 different plot points that might need addressing before those 6 chapters are done.
Actually, I thought it was counted as 14.
Well, I just said does it for simplicity.
Okay. But yeah, off the top of my head, I came up with around 14 different questions, not even questions, points, topics into that have been unaddressed by Bleach so far.
Such as multiple characters bankais.
Yeah, I actually prioritized them based on how the manga treated them. For example, I actually prioritize Hisagi's bankai over Shinji's because they actually gave attention to the fact that Hisagi had a bankai. Right. So that type of thing.
Why did the Vizards use their masks that rejoined the Soul Reapers?
Yeah, I mean, look, look, if we're gonna have something as stupid as them making a stupid promise that ultimately has no real bearing if everyone's being slaughtered, at least say it, okay? At this point we still don't know why, you know. This is something that's really important. So this whole thing about you can infer. No, don't infer. We need an actual explanation as to why they're not doing something that I think could easily turn, or at least could in some way turn the tide.
Yeah. And the next one here was like, were Grimjow and Nell just there to be like a Deus Ex Machina in an ambulance?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. So I mean, look, we'll talk about this a little. So what's basically going to happen is.
Oh wait, did you want to do our own video specifically on these?
We wanted to do our own video on all 14.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was bringing them up here in that case. Never mind that. We'll come back. Okay. We'll set that up and kind of do it as a later point there.
Okay. But in terms of this chapter alone, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I mean, even this chapter by itself has more pages in it than the previous ones, right?
Like, I don't know if it's I'm not sure about that, or at least not by the same number.
Well, I mean, if you go for manga stream, which unfortunately includes fan art, it goes to 23. Even with fan art, Bleach tends to go with 19 usually.
Well, Bleach, the actual chapter ends at 20.
20, okay.
And there's
Bleach
and there's that manga stream title page, so it's like 19 total.
Okay. So how much does the last one have?
I don't know, but 1920 is about normal though.
Okay, I thought
Actually, no,
Bleach ends.
Hang on. Okay, so we got the first page with Renji, then we get the title, then at least two pages of fan art.
Yeah.
So that's 3 right there. So it's 20 pages to get to the end of the chapter, 3 of which are taken up by other stuff.
Okay. I thought Bleach usually ends on 16 to 17. So you get like a 3.
I never really paid that strict attention to it, but I noticed like it's usually like 19-20 pages is pretty typical, but you also have to remember Bleach's propensity for double page spreads.
I know that, but it is 19 to 20 is typical. But I thought Bleach was always shorter. Even excluding the fact that it's double page spreads, I always thought that 16 to 17 was actually the number. Although maybe that number becomes Actually, no. I think that you're right. I think the reason why is because when you look at the websites, they actually include double page spreads as one page only. So that's probably why. Yeah. That said, you're right. But you're definitely the double page spreads does make it technically shorter.
Yeah, and in this case, it was like it's yeah. So I don't think there's any actual difference in length here.
Okay, because it feels longer. Mm-hmm. Or at least it feels rushed. Therefore, it feels longer in a way, I guess, because more content is put in.
It's kind of sad to think about that. Like he's only by rushing everything in one shot does it feel like he's gonna put enough in it that actually makes the chapter feel long.
I don't understand why he could.
That game might have been jambled up there. Sorry.
I just don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why, but I would like to ask why himself. Why he didn't do this? Like I don't know, a year ago.
Paycheck.
Because I feel like, think about it, he spent an hour. He spent a month and a month and a half on both Mayuri and Kiraku, each. And he spent like 3 chapters on Yubak and Ichigo, or 4 chapters, right, or something like that. So that's and he spent. It's clear, it's obvious. Someone in the publishing company told Kubo to wrap it up, and I will talk about that later in our next video. But ultimately, this chapter does feel like there's a lot more content in it. One thing, there's a lot less. There's no real double page spread except for maybe the last one.
No, count? I think it's all one thing.
It's one thing. Okay, yeah. So there's no double page spread, and I guess a lot more important stuff is happening. So I guess I don't know. So I don't know. It's just
like I mean, like, we don't know how many chapters are actually left. There's like a pretty small number, minimum 5 or 6 by now. I think is what we're assuming. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, you can kind of feel the rush. I mean, like you said, this is like, oh, I know, this is like that whole, we don't have enough power for the gate. Oh, there's an extra power supply right here. Thing all over again.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that doesn't. Oh, yeah, they like wasted a chapter or 2 talking about how the gate is not working, and then they just said, "Hey, we got this other thing right here." Oh, okay. Then what was the whole point of the last 2 chapters?
Yeah. Just like that all over again. Like we have a problem, and we get it resolved within the course of the chapter, or within almost immediately after.
I'll say this. I'll say that regardless of what happens, I am happy that Tsukishima actually did something because that proved me right.
You mean like honestly, about the Fullbringers? Oh, you mean about Tsukishima in particular being a Yua counter?
Yeah, because his abilities were like, I mean, at this point, Yubak is so freaking OP that I was like, Tsukishima was the only way to do it. And I actually disagree with Tekken saying like, I think it would be better if Yua won. No. Okay, I get that there are manga out there that have the bad guys win. Those are usually seinen.
Bleach is not one of those manga.
It's not. It's a shonen manga. Shonen mangas are not supposed to have the villains win. It's not about being generic. It's part of the genre itself, in the sense that it's the soul of what a shonen is. So like seinen manga or those types of manga, the really dark, very adult themed manga. Okay, fine. Those can have bad guys win. Like they're different. Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, all those things are all about accomplishing your goals and becoming strong and dreams. You would basically, yes, you can sometimes this will result in bad writing, but at the end of the day, you never want to betray the soul of the art, the soul of the story. And so having the bad guy win at the end, I think would be the worst thing possible in this context. Not in all stories, obviously, but in this context, in Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, or anything like it, that's not a good. That you cannot have that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the very least, like the tone of Bleach does not sets it up for certain ways to end the story. York winning is not one of them.
That's what I'm saying. So, Tsukishima, I forgot to mention this, but Tsukishima said that his debt is repaid, right? So is he just going to sit back on the sidelines now?
I don't know. I know that's one of your plot points from the thing we talked about.
Yeah, but this is okay to talk about now because this is actually
relevant.
in the chapter.
Yeah, it's relevant.
So he says, okay, we can call the debt repaid. We're square now, right? So is he just going to be like, okay, you go on with me and Ginjo and everyone else, we're just going to sit here and wait for you to be done? Because what stopped you, Bach, from just doing it again?
That is a good question, and I'm assuming by the sound of it they are, just so that we don't have to worry about having them around for the fight to give them something to do. I don't know. It's like we at least have like our main. God, Chad's not even there. We can't even say like main characters, main cast.
Right, Chad? Some people actually did point out that maybe this is a chance for everyone to reunite, but Chad's not there.
No, he's getting his off-screen moment of awesome with Ginzo, with Ganju. Yeah.
And maybe Giriko, because who knows where Giriko is. So I mean, look, the one thing I'm asking is though, like they were training for this, right? What in the devil is required for them to train that much just for this one thing?
I mean, Tsukishima already knew how to stab people.
Yeah, I mean, this is not something that Tsukishima had to learn. He could always do this. Like Tekken actually missed this, where whether you agree with it or not, and whether you think it's stupid or not, Tsukishima can change the memories of inanimate objects too. Although this one he didn't actually touch the object, touch Ichigo, but I'll just say, react related, whatever. But he has shown in the Byakuya fight to actually be able to like affect inanimate objects, where he would say, I placed a trap there, I hit this thing for 1,000 years, and this is obviously not just memory, but there's no way he can actually do this. Like for example, he hits a pillar, right, and he says, I stabbed this pillar and I make it so that I was actually here for 1,000 years and I was hitting it, so that way it crumbles now. Yeah. Except that he was obviously not there for 1,000 years. But that's you're not just manipulating my memory, you're manipulating reality. And he also affects people's. He doesn't just affect people's memories. He can actually affect his own. And for example, when he touched Byakuya or stabbed Byakuya, right? He didn't just change the memories of Byakuya, but he also changed his own. When he says, "Okay, now I know everything you can come up with because I've been training with you for your entire life, or whatever." Yeah. That's his own memories. That has nothing to do with Byakuya. So he actually knows things that he shouldn't know because he was able to
you're breaking up a little bit.
Manipulate not just the memories of the opponent, but his own. And as it turns, he's not able to just manipulate the memories of his enemy, but also his own to his own advantage.
Yeah. And
he's also able to affect inanimate objects. So the fact that he's able to affect Ichigo's sword is not something I have a problem with. That a lot of people seem to. I mean, look, that whole thing, the memory of a person and the memory of an object are not the same thing, obviously. But I think what Kubo was trying to do was saying he doesn't just affect the memory as a literal memory of like the reality of something. So basically, it becomes very metaphysical. And yeah, whether you think that's stupid or not doesn't change the fact that he did show this back.
Hang on, you're breaking up with the static.
All the way to the Byakuya fight. So this is not an asshole. It had this ability. It's not by definition because it doesn't come out of nowhere. We knew this was happening.
Hang on, sorry to interrupt you. It's like you're getting a bit staticky on there.
Okay, how am I now?
Better.
Okay. So it's not an asshole because it's not out of nowhere. We knew this ability has been present for literally the entire arc. Ever since the full bring arc. Even the stretch, it's stretched a bit. I'll admit it is stretched a bit, but it's been shown that he can do something similar when he fought Byakuya. So again, the fact, I guess the timing makes it feel very asshole. Deus Ex Machina. This is the way he comes at this moment, but the actual ability, how he does it, I'll take it. Like. It's, at this point, especially with the way Bleach is going, the pacing. I'm not gonna go crazy over it, Although he still needed Orihime to heal the sword, but my guess is that while he can change the reality of the past, he can't change the reality of the present, and therefore that's what Orihime needs to do. So basically, Tsukishima and Orihime are together make like the perfect healing team.
Yep.
No shippers. That doesn't. I don't mean that way.
But have fun with it anyway.
Also, but here's the problem though. If so, Ichigo, there was this whole thing about Bronchi being broken can never be fixed.
And then we did. It was the entire reason Ichigo went to the Royal Realm in the first place.
Yeah. What was? Are we not gonna address that? Here's another thing though. Like when Ichigo broke his Bankai for the first time against Hashwald, Yubok didn't do it, so it wasn't even like set in stone the same way. So what stopped Orihime from not doing it? Is it because she was in Hueco Mundo? You know, and Ichigo said it himself. There's nothing you can possibly do to fix your Bankai. Nothing.
Nope.
And Orihime just showed you can.
Sorry if I coughed right there. But yeah, I mean, it's like. I mean, like, they set up this whole big plot point, and really, that whole plot point was pretty much just there to set up Ichigo coming back to from the Royal Realm, to give Yuan the key to enter the Royal Realm, and then send Ichigo right back up to the Royal Realm.
See, here's the problem: is that we're starting to see that these types of writing decisions are artificial. They're not. They don't feel natural anymore. Like it doesn't make sense. You know. Now we're just saying, okay, he's doing this because he wants to stall Ichigo. He had Gerard be there because he wants to stall the other Shinigami. Like now we're starting to see the behind the scenes of why Kubo is doing stuff, and an audience, like a reader, should never be able to do that. Like that's not good when you see that happening. Now, yeah, I mean maybe like that's the thing. Like the reason why Tsukushima was needed this time was because Yubok did it, but last time Yubok didn't. It was Hashwald. So is that? I think that's the only reason why Tsukushima is needed. That's the only difference. Other than that, it's sort of like, well, why didn't Ichigo fix it the first time? I mean, we later found out it's because he, you know, at the end of the day, it's actually better that he remade it into something else.
Yeah.
But before we knew all that, you know, the question was, why can't Orihime just fix it? Turns out she could.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, Orihime is kind of like an exception to the rule in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's like, was he even there at the time, or was she still in Hueco Mundo?
No, she was in Hueco Mundo, but I mean, at that point, they were just like, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, well, we can call Orihime. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's the thing though. Like, there was no one. She didn't even say like, what about Orihime's abilities? And no one said, well, actually, that might not work this time. Blah 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 blah. No, it was never even brought up that Orihime could probably fix it.
Look,
that's the problem.
Otherwise, there would be no. You'd have to make a point of describing why she could do it now.
Yeah, I mean, like you're finding plot holes all over the place now. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this chapter. Ichigo's gonna go and fight, and also, again, not only what stops him from Yubok from breaking his Bankai, but what power does Ichigo have that can actually defeat Yubok?
Especially
right?
since Yubok took his powers already.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another question that I know Tekken asked. So if he has lost all of his powers, how can he still have a Bankai?
Like, what's left?
Well, actually, I might have a theory on that. Remember how Ichigo said he lost his powers when he used the final Getsuga?
Yeah.
Remember they said like he didn't lose his powers. It was just all like, kind of like went into one area and very small. It rescinded into a very small part of his soul, and like it's still there, like a candle, a lit candle, and that it just needs a spark to kind of come back out again.
Right.
So I think it's not. I think it's the same situation where he hasn't actually lost all of his powers. It's still there. It's just very small, very minute, and that it needs something like a spark to actually become strong again. That said, I don't know what that spark is because I don't think having his Bankai is that spark.
I mean, it certainly seemed to cheer him up, but yeah, otherwise.
Yeah, really, that true despair, man. Mm-hmm. True despair for 20 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah.
All you need to do is have your phallic representation of your phallic nature restored.
Okay, well, we will now continue on to our next video with our Bleach plot points questions.
Yep. All right. Oh, yeah. So in that case, that's going to be the end of our the review of the actual Bleach chapter of chapter 681, The End to World. Go ahead and take us away.
Bye.